On October 7th of 2023, the world was shocked as Hamas butchered over 1,200 civilians in the worst attack against Jews since the Holocaust. Unspeakable atrocities, rape, murder of women, killing parents in front of their children, children in front of their parents. People were burned alive. Babies were beheaded in their cribs. Children and elderly were dragged away on motorcycles as hostages. Since then, the war has raged on and become a global concern. The Middle East crisis is complicated, and it's both a physical and spiritual battle with prophetic implications. Israel and the Jewish people are at the heart of this ministry, and we want to educate and equip you to understand what's happening and what you can do to help. So Ezra, this is very complicated.
It is.
And there's two narratives. There's the media narrative, and there's the truth.
Sure.
The narrative that...
Sure. And within the media narrative, depending on what channel you're watching, you're going to get a different spin. And it's in the months since October 7th, Jonathan, the war rages on. And what we hoped might be a swift, decisive military action has only become more complicated. And with the complications come the speculation and the accusation and the condemnation. And if you're like many of our viewers, you're going, I want to stand with Israel. I think I'm supposed to stand with Israel, but how do I continue standing with Israel, and what does that even mean?
Well, let's sort it out, because every time I turn on the news, and it really doesn't matter if it's CNN, if it's Fox News, if it's BBC, which is probably even worse, but the narrative is that Israel is the aggressor now, killing hundreds or even thousands of innocent Palestinians, and the world's demanding a ceasefire. The UN and most of the world is demanding a ceasefire. That's the picture, Israel the aggressor.
Sure.
Which has been the narrative for decades.
For decades.
But it's intensified again.
Not only demanding a ceasefire, but condemning Israel for the action that's been taken already.
So Ezra, the point I want people to understand is October 7th was not a military attack. It wasn't an attack against the Israeli military. It was an attack against civilians, an attack against women, children, grandparents, just atrocities.
People who were not even Israeli citizens living and working in the land of Israel were cut down. They were murdered alongside the Jewish people.
It was just a mass murder effort.
And so the question then in the media is, well, if it's quid pro quo, right? Well, then Hamas had this right to attack innocent civilians because Israel's been attacking the Palestinians, been attacking the Arab people. But that's another clarification we need to make, because you're not probably going to find it in the news. This is not a battle, Jonathan, between the state of Israel and the Palestinian people or the Arab states or Arab peoples as a whole. This is a specific war that really Hamas declared, but then Israel made it official on the evening of October 7th when Netanyahu said this is war between a state trying to defend its own people, Jewish and Arab, within its borders, and an Islamic jihadist terrorist regime.
This is a hugely important point. This is not Israelis against Palestinians.
Correct.
This is was a terrorist attack, just horrific terrorist attack against men, women, and children, indiscriminate attack, to destroy life.
Correct.
And Israel is not against the Palestinians.
Correct.
They're trying to eradicate a terrorist organization that puts every citizen of Israel and visitor in jeopardy.
That's right.
I want to go back to this moral equivalency issue.
Sure.
The media is painting this picture of Israel the Goliath butchering thousands of innocent Palestinians.
That's right. That's right.
And it's sad that so many are dying, but there's a reason for it. I want to dig into that.
Yeah, and here's the false narrative, the carrot that's being dangled right now to try to pull people away from any kind of support for Israel is to say, if you stand with the Jewish state, if you stand with Israel, then you are condoning the murder of thousands, tens of thousands of innocent Gazans, right? This is the narrative out there. It's this false choice. But we have to go back. Remember why it started, like the IDF spokesman said, right, on October 7th,
right.
hours
and
after this whole thing.
It's the UN narrative also.
Totally.
Constantly sanctioning Israel.
Right, but here's the thing. I would say, and we want to argue and appeal to you that it is possible to defend Israel's right to defend herself, condemn jihadist terrorist violence by Hamas, and also grieve the loss of innocent life that's happening on both sides of the border, especially in the Gaza Strip in these last few months. And it
is grievous, but why are so many Palestinians dying? And the answer is that the Hamas is putting these innocent people front and center as shields.
Right. And they've done it before in other military escalations with Israel, and they're doing it now, and they'll continue to do it. Because remember, the ultimate goal in the Hamas worldview, in the Hamas charter, is by any means necessary, exterminate the Jewish people in that region, destroy the Jewish state, we've heard the language, drive them into the sea for the sake of the glory of Allah. So by any means necessary, if we have to use innocent people in our own area to do so, well, we're going after what we would say is the greater good.
So shocking. They're willing to sacrifice their own people for this hatred, and this ultimate goal of pushing the Jewish people into the Mediterranean Sea.
Sure. And again, that's why the idea of moral equivalency needs to go in the trash bin right now, because there's not a fair fight happening here. Israel's trying to defend itself. Hamas is hiding behind innocent civilians. Look at the facts.
This is spiritual, and it answers the question of what you can do to make a difference. You can pray and you can proclaim. You can pray for the peace of Jerusalem, which goes beyond just praying for a cessation of war, but praying for God's plan to be fulfilled, and that means transformed lives with Jew and Arab, Israeli and Palestinian, and members of Hamas. They can be transformed by the power of the living God, and you can change their life through prayer and proclamation of the good news.
Jonathan, our viewers may be listening to all of this saying, I really feel lost in the details. I feel lost in the rhetoric and propaganda. I'm very confused by what I see on the news.
Very understandable.
It's no longer politically correct for me to have my I Stand With Israel sticker on my car. Should I take it off? What would you recommend that our Christian viewers do? How do you stand with Israel right now when she needs that help and that support most of all in practical or spiritual ways?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to advocate that you put bumper stickers everywhere that boldly proclaim you're a supporter of Israel. That might not be the wisest thing. But what we're called to do, all of us who are lovers of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. That word shalom is translated peace, but it's much deeper than that. It's to bring to ultimate conclusion. It's about well-being. It's about completion. And so the idea of praying for the peace of Jerusalem is to storm the heavenlies as watchmen on the walls to bring about God's intended plan and purpose for the land and people of Israel.
That's right.
And we're committed to Jew and Arab alike here at Jewish Voice. We support Arab ministries. We support Palestinian ministries because we know that ultimately God's peace plan is through a changed heart. And that change of heart comes with the Messiah of Israel who's knocking at the doors of our heart.
That's right.
Jew and Arab, Israeli and Palestinian alike. And through your prayer and your sharing your faith with people around you, certainly Palestinians as well as Jews, their lives will be transformed. That's God's peace plan.
Amen.
One way to stand with Israel is to actively demonstrate your support. Even a small symbolic gesture, such as wearing the simple wristband or a pin featuring the U.S. and Israeli flag, can have more impact than you can imagine. To equip you for conversation that may be initiated when you wear that pin or wristband, we recommend Jonathan's authoritative commentary. A Lasting Peace, a historical, biblical, and prophetic lens on the crisis in the Middle East. This hardcover book, more than 200 pages, will help you understand the physical and spiritual battle unfolding in Israel, Palestine, Gaza, the entire Middle East, and indeed the world. Make a one-time gift of $40 or more, and we'll send the pin, bracelet, and book right out to you. Become a new Shalom partner with a gift of $30 per month. And to say thank you, we'll also include this striking sculpture titled Soldier at the Wall. The moving image of a defender of Israel praying at the Western Wall reminds us that true peace is available to those who trust in God, and how we each have a responsibility to pray for Israel. As a new Shalom partner, your gift will also be invested in support of relief efforts in Israel. Jewish Voice is partnering with more than 80 respected ministries to provide desperately needed humanitarian aid and emergency response care. Call this toll-free number, mail your most generous financial gift to the address on the screen, give securely online at jewishvoice.tv, or scan the QR code. Thank you so much for coming alongside Jewish Voice in our promise to stand with Israel.
Hi, my name is Ezra Benjamin, and I'm the Vice President of Global Ministry Affairs here at Jewish Voice. I'm glad you visited our site today, and before you close this video, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for coming to learn more about what we do. However you got here today, an ad, a search, maybe even a prompting from the Lord, thanks for responding.